Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Focus on Liberia. Today is Tough Talking Thursday. My name is Dennis Jai, and we're broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. In today's edition of Tough Talking Thursday, we're going to be dealing with the state of the nation. On the 24th of January 2022, President George Weah delivered the State of the Nation address. In that address, President Weah described the state of the nation as follows. He said, based on the report that I have just made to you, I can state categorically and with confidence that the state of our economy is stable and growing, and that the state of the nation is peaceful and strong. Tonight, I have invited Dr. Maurice Tennessee Kofa, along with our regular panelist, that is our public policy analyst, Carl Famula, political analyst, Mohammed Sharif, and chief political analyst, Wilmot Weti Kuni, to deliver their own State of the Nation address and provide policy proposal as to how these issues can be addressed. Before we continue, before I welcome my guests, we want to remember a fellow Liberian who passed away quite recently. He's been a guest here on Focus on Liberia. That's Mr. Christmas Silly. He has appeared on this platform a few times. We want to remember him tonight and express our profound condolences to the bereaved family. And we say, Christmas, may your soul rest in peace. Again, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Let me start with Dr. Kofa. Dr. Kofa, welcome to Focus on Liberia. And again, we're glad to have you right here on Tough Talking Thursday.
Sure. Well, thank you very much, Janice. And I also want to thank my colleagues with whom I appear for the first time on the platform. Nice to meet all of you, ladies and gentlemen. My take, I think the president did his constitutional responsibility to have appeared before the parliament to give his State of the Union address. I think he actually spelled out some key things that he accomplished, the government accomplished, and some of the things that the government is currently working on to accomplish. And one could sense that there has to be some progress. To what level we would discuss it. But one thing I was gladly disappointed was,
and we'll get to that in detail.
Okay,
we'll get to that. I want to welcome our political analyst, a product of Waplo Institute, all the way from Kilipo, Kanwiken, Mr. Mohammed Sharif. Mr. Sharif, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Dennis, thank you. It's great to be here, as always.
We want to welcome our chief political analyst who was in Monrovia. He has just returned. He was one of those who met with the president at the Jamaica resort, and he represented Focus on Liberia. I want to say welcome back, Mr. Kuni, and welcome to Tough Talking Thursday.
Always a pleasure to be here, and I'm happy to be with my fellow panelists to discuss issues that are very crucial to our country, and to also identify the Tabata that is also going on in the country.
Thank you. Next, we want to welcome our public policy analyst, Mrs. Carl Famula. Carl, welcome to Tough Talking Thursdays. This is the State of the Nation.
It's great to be back. We were out for a couple of weeks, but it's good to be back.
Thank you. We want to welcome all viewers from across the globe. On this State of the Union, my panelists will be giving their State of the Union and policy proposal as how to fix whatever issue is identified, if any. And you, our viewers, we want you to prepare your own State of the Nation. At the end of the show today, please find one word to describe the State of the Nation. And the first person to call to deliver a State of the Nation will be Mr. Mohammed Sharif. He is our political analyst. But before we start the State of the Nation address, as our tradition, we want to play the Grebo Band. That's the AFL playing the Grebo Band, popularly known as Coco Bali.
We order.
Everybody.
That's great.
Sharif, the state of the nation.
This is wonderful. This is really very fantastic. I just hearing this, I just reminisce of the good old days. So, the state of national governance, as it is unstable, is dangerous, and is in a real precipitous decline. And so the nation of Liberia has precipitously declined in the last 3.5 to 4 years of this administration. So I could have picked any topic tonight. I could have picked the economy. I could have picked poverty. I could have picked healthcare. I could have picked any of the social issues, racialistic killings, uh, you know, uh, alleged government sponsored killings, like, the auditors who died and no one is in jail. I could have picked any of those to discuss. I could have picked the infrastructure, how rotten the roads are. I could have picked education, as I mentioned, how rotten the educational system is, how declined the educational system has become under this administration. But rather, I chose national governance for a reason. I do believe that when the people elect a president, the president is the leader who sets the agenda. The president is almost in our in Africa, and we all know that as Africans around this discussion tonight. Um, the president is like the father of the nation. So you are the eyes and ears of the people. So parents come to you to resolve their issues. Husbands and wives will try to visit the president to resolve their issues. So, and these are issues that are very critical. These are issues within family units. And what about issues that affect the nation? So I say all of that to say that the presidency is a very critical position. So when the people elect the president, they are electing someone to preside over the nation. They are electing someone who will lead the nation out of whatever crisis it is to a new beginning, to a better environment. But rather, we have a president who has forgotten all of that. When the people elect a president, they're not electing a comedian. They're not electing a singer, an entertainer. They are electing a serious person. This president has not shown any seriousness to the office of the presidency. Exhibit A is the slew of music that he has been producing since since he came to office. This is not a seriousness. This just shows that the president, whatever he has missed in his youth, is going back to dig into his youth, to dig into his past, still live in the past. So I guess he has not grown up from the past. This president also has forgotten that he has a nation to run, and therefore he is at every soccer or basketball matches. He is playing games around the city of Monrovia, around the country. The president can do some of those things some of the time, but not all of the time. This president has a serious job to do, but he has forgotten that he has a nation to run. As a result, the economists tell us that the country right now has a debt burden of about $2 billion. This is enormous for a country the size of Liberia, the population of Liberia, about 5 million people. This president is going to leave office and saddle generation yet unborn with debt burden, which is very important for Liberian people to look at when they go to the polls in 2023. Ritualistic killing. People are dying in Monrovia and other parts of the country, and this president has not paid attention to that. This president's one of his law enforcement officers, I believe it's the Solicitor General, who was caught on tape talking to someone about ritualistic killing. There is no investigation up to this time This man has not been investigated. No one has talked about that. That has gone away. This president has presided over corruption after corruption episodes, and there's no investigation. No one is in jail. This president is taking us for a ride. It's taking the Liberian people for a ride. And you know what? Someone like myself, I'm not going along for that ride. And this is the reason why I'm going to speak critically of this administration. I ask all of you to join me in this effort so that we can unearth this rotten, decadent administration. Right now, Brownie Samokai, the legitimate elected senator from Lofa County, who was elected in December of 2020, who had the highest number of votes, over 20,000 votes from Lofa County. Brownie Samokai now is on the precipice of going to jail. This is very serious. Brownie Samokai cannot take his seat because this president has politicized all of the branches of government. He has politicized the legislature. He has politicized the judiciary. So all of these apparatus, all of these different institutions that should be separate and watertight are now subservient to the almighty, all executive presidency. This is dangerous. And this is where I started. That is my thesis. The state of the presidency, national governance is in crisis. And right now, if we do not do anything about it, this country is going down. And so one of my prescriptions is, let us start with Brownie Samokai. I tonight declare that although I'm not a member of the Unity Party, but I support Brownie Samokai's effort to get his legitimate seat to be seated. So if supporters of Brownie Samokai need my support, I will make myself available to Brownie Samokai's team so that he can get his seat. George Weah is not listening to anybody. He doesn't read the newspapers. He doesn't listen to radio stations. He's not watching this. Some of his people are. And the reason why Brownie Samokai is not sitting in Capitol Hill right now is George Weah does not care. And so what are we to do? We are to now lobby the people he fears most, the United States government, to let them know what is going on in Liberia. And as we go on this discussion tonight, I will lay down a series of prescriptions upon which we can take to better the condition of the Liberian nation state.
Thank you, Mr. Sheriff, and thank you so much. You said the state of governance in the country is in crisis, and the prescription for that, you said let us start with Brownie Samokai. This time, let's remember the State of the Nation address, maximum 3 minutes. Please be brief and also give us the state of whatever sector you're talking about and your policy prescription. At this time, let's call on Dr. Maurice Tennessee Kofa to deliver the State of the Nation address. Dr. Kofa.
Thank you very much. I started off earlier to commend the president for meeting his constitutional responsibility. My takeaway from the speech actually has to do with the environment. And when I talk about the environment, I talked about the environment from a holistic perspective. I talk about the solid waste crisis that is on the top of the list. I talk about environmental justice. I talk about environmental economics. And I talk about environmental crimes. Now, let's go to the top of the list, which is the solid waste crisis. As it stands now, Liberia is in one of the challenging situations with respect to solid waste. The crisis of solid waste in the country is so severe that if we do not pay attention to it, especially the government, it will create serious issue with respect to economics, with respect to politics, and with respect to other social issues, and mostly with respect to crime. The solid waste in Liberia, Monserrado County alone, accumulate about 800 tons of garbage per day. And where would the trash go? There is no sanitary landfill in Liberia. When I mean sanitary landfill, I mean an engineering sanitary landfill. All Liberia has now is a holding station. And holding stations supposed to hold garbage 2 hours at most an hour because of the fear of the decomposition that may lead to other waterborne and airborne diseases. Before you take the solid waste from the holding site, there has to be an engineering sanitary landfill. The only engineering sanitary landfill that Liberia is trying to build for the past 6-7 years is the Chisholm sanitary landfill, and it is not yet finished. So all the 800 tons of trash that is collected in Monrovia alone and other parts of Liberia, where are they going? They dump them all in the street, and this is why the trash in the country is very, very difficult to deal with. Then we go to the issue of other environmental issue that has to do with artisanal mining and the mining industry. The artisanal mining, our innocent people are dying because they're where they go to find a little bit of money. They dig it with their bare hands, no equipment, to go and be able to earn some money and pay their fee. And that artisanal mining is not being policed by the government. There's no regulation. So as a result, the people go into the fields and they start digging, and sometimes they dig without cheating and shoring, and then the whole land just collapse on them and they die. The artisanal mining, where it's being, the other mining that is being policed by the government, the corporate social responsibility fund that's supposed to go to this community for roads, for clinic, for school, many of them, we don't see them at all. Now, the incident that took place in the borough of New Crew Town, it could very well be the issue of the poor environmental condition. Because where there are poor environmental condition, it's a nest or a harbor ground for thieves, for criminals. Because I was there in Monrovia when the fight broke up between the so-called, I don't like to call them the Zogo, I like to call them the disadvantaged youth. When the fight broke up between them and the police, and they almost overwhelmed the police. And just before that, in less than 2 months, the church situation happened. So there is a serious problem. Now, the issue of environmental economics. Liberia has to consider the issue of trash minimization. What do I mean when I talk about trash minimization? When I talk about trash minimization, I'm talking about how we can transform trash to cash. There are engineering opportunities available with appropriate technology, with the appropriate expertise to turn that trash into cash. That can happen. The government has to open his business avenue and provide incentives for people who want to engage in that kind of business. We're not only going to reduce the level of trash accumulated, we can also reduce and create job employment for our people. Now, yes. I think let me stop there. I consumed my 3 minutes.
So in general, what word do you use to describe the state of the environment in Liberia?
With respect to the poor and with respect to the environment, it is poor.
Poor. This time we go to Mr. Wilmot Cooney to deliver the State of the Nation address. Mr. Cooney.
Well, thank you. I'm happy to be here. Like the previous speaker, the president executed his constitutional responsibility to report to the nation. And my takeaway from the president's State of the Union is actually in the area of road infrastructure. I think we all agree for any country to make progress in terms of economic development, there are certain baseline that our country will have to meet for us to actually get on a path of development. Road construction, power, meaning electricity, and sustainable water supply. Those are basic requirements for economic activities. And it will interest the Liberian people to know that our country has a total 10,600 kilometers of roads. Of that total, it's about 657 kilometers that are paved. That's about 400 and some more miles. And so that is the state of our road network in the country. And with that kind of limited road network, I mean, you cannot actually carry on economic activity, really, in the true sense of national development. So for me, one of the singular issues for which I support the president is his commitment to road connectivity. So whenever the president addresses the Liberian people, I want to see the progress that is being made in that area. And I was encouraged, I'm encouraged by the progress that we continue to make in the area of road construction. The roads are opening in the economic corridors of the country. whether it is in Nimba County, whether it is in Bond County, whether it is in Kidman County. You know, you talk about the Saclipie to Tabata Road Corridor. You talk about the Fishtown to Canwecan Road Corridor. You talk about the different corridors, whether the Roberts Fee, Roberts Post to Medina. All of these road constructions, some have been initiated, some are in progress. We talk about the iconic expansion of the Roberts Fee Highway. Road connectivity in foster economic activities, and it also connect the people to one another. So my takeaway is that the country continue to make progress in the area of road construction. If you go around Monrovia, my brother Kofi is there. Even the community road network, they kind of like easing up on the traffic congestion in the city. I mean, I went to downtown Monrovia several times without even going to the ELWA junction. I had to use some other roads that, you know, carry me faster. You talk about the construction. Now the Japanese are in the process of constructing from the Gabriel Tucker Bridge to Freeport. The government will pick it up from the Freeport to the St. Paul River Bridge, building an additional bridge to create a 4-lane road corridor. You talk about the linkage of Tingle Village in Monrovia to Dupo Road. I mean, all of these linkages, these road linkages are going on. We can't talk about real agricultural development if we don't have roads to transport even the goods. So I think in that area, in the area of road infrastructure, the government is laser focused. The government is committed, and the government is doing everything that they can do to improve road infrastructure in the country. You go from Zwedru, the connectivity in the southeast. I mean, there's this plan to connect from Fishtown Harper through River G to Zwedru, all of these things. And so, I mean, it's an encouraging news. All of the road network that are in progress, if those roads are completed, this administration, just in their first term, they will be able to have completed about 470 kilometers of roads just in 4 years. So for me, this is my support. People may call it a singular support, but that is the issue for which I support this government, and I remain encouraged every time the government come and give us progress on these the road infrastructure. Now, there are other things that are not directly connected to the roads for which I support the government. I see the government inching in the area of decentralization, the passage of the Local Government Act by the WIA administration. It's a step in the right direction. Are they taking the steps the way I want them to be? No, but that's a step in the right direction. The passage of the Local Government Act, the partnership now that is in the offering to be created between local authorities and the national government with regard to real estate tax collection that will leave some of the real estate taxes with the local authorities for them to do their own development. These are all issues. These are all beautiful things I took from the State of the Union. Then, of course, the president unceasing support for dual citizenship. I mean, the affirmation that once a Liberian, always a Liberian, is another thing that I think that is very positive. It fosters unification. It fosters togetherness. I mean, we can, on the one hand, be celebrating a bicentennial, wanting other people to come to our country, and then we can even resolve the issue of citizenship for natural-born Liberian citizens. So I think the message was strong, the message was positive, and I think from that perspective, there are a lot of positive things that are going on in the country, despite all of the challenges and that also prevail. I agree with Kofi when it comes to the environmental thing. I've always said on the show.
Kone, one second, Mr. Kone. So you are giving your state of the nation. So tell me, what is the state? How will you describe the state of road network in Liberia? Because
I would say improving.
Thank you.
We are improving.
Thank you. At this time, let's welcome Mrs. Cole Famler for her State of the Nation address.
Great. Thank you, Dennis. I am going to talk about the state of the most important and most vulnerable population, which is our citizens that have not yet reached the age of 18. There are approximately 2.5 million Liberian citizens that have not reached their 18th birthday. Of those 2.5 million Liberian citizens that have not yet reached their 18th birthday, approximately 875,000 of them have not reached their 5th birthday. And of those 2.5 million citizens that have not reached their 18th birthday, according to UNICEF, 2 million of them live in what's classified as abject poverty, meaning they're not getting enough to eat on a day-to-day basis. This is heart-wrenching because your citizens are the foundation, your young citizens are the foundation of your country. Your children are the future of your country. And the state of the nation the state of the nation's children is despicable, unacceptable, dire, and desperate. Water and sanitation for the population that has not yet reached their 18th birthday is such that the drinking water that they have access to, even pump water, hand pump water, groundwater supplies are contaminated with lead, mercury, and other substances that can cause permanent developmental delays, stunt their growth, both intellectual and physical growth. And the percentage of that population that has been affected by mercury and lead poisoning has not been, the report on the studies that are currently being conducted have not come out yet, but the preliminary work is not looking good for that portion of the population. Basic education for children, for citizens of Liberia that have not yet reached their 18th birthday. There's two components of that. One is the transportation to and from school. Of the 2.5 million citizens that have not reached their 18th birthday, 2.3 million of them do not have adequate access to proper, safe transportation to go to and from school. Whether they walk, there are no sidewalks, there's no safe walking, mechanisms put in place for children to go to school. The ones that are required to take public transportation, that is terribly unsafe. And the ones that have to do things like ride pen-pens, cross dangerous roads and other crumbling infrastructure, lack of swamp, stilt bridges and things like that just to get to school. And then when they do get to school, this huge portion of our citizenry, when they do get to school, the schools, many of the old crumbling buildings have lead paint, asbestos, and other dangerous hazards that they have to learn in. In addition to that, they don't have proper nutrition. So you've got a situation where children are not eating properly, they're drinking contaminated water, they're bearing all kinds of hazardous conditions just to get to school. And when they get to school, the environments that they sit in to learn are unsafe. The air that they breathe, because of burning trash and burning chemicals, is also contaminated with airborne lead. So 2.5 million of our citizens have not yet reached their 18th birthday and are being poisoned through the air, through the water they drink. They're being put at high risk for accidents and blunt force trauma due to all kinds of hazards that they have to bear to get to school. When they do get to school and they're sitting in these contaminated, inadequate buildings with rotting infrastructure, hazardous lead paint, asbestos, and other environmental dangers, they are being given the most substandard education by poorly prepared educators.
Thank you.
And is that the 3 minutes? Because I'm not even halfway done.
Yeah, we've done 4 minutes, so conclude.
Okay, so besides that, abuse statistics are through the roof. Children are being, exploited sexually. They're subject to physical abuse, psychological abuse, all kinds of trauma. And, many of crimes against children, when it comes to justice, I'll just fast forward to this portion of it. Children do not get justice in Liberia. It's very difficult to prosecute crimes against children. So that was the last part of the State of the Union. When it comes to justice for children that have been violated, that have been abused, it's almost non-existent.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. If you are just joining us, this is Focus on Liberia Tough Talking Thursday. We are discussing the state of the nation. We started with Mr. Sharif, who delivered the state of governance as in crisis. Mr. Dr. Morris Tennessee Kofa discussed the state of environment, which he described as poor. Mr. Wilmot Wetty Kunin described the state of road as improving. And Mrs. Cole Formula discussed the state of children as despicable, dire, and desperate. I also got a written state of the nation from our own Jackie Sayer, the host of the Literary Hour right here on Focus on Liberia. And we're going to read the statement from Jackie on the state of education in the country. And just in case you forget who Jackie is, that is Jackie. And so we read the state of education. She writes, sorry about that. Currently, nearly 50% of Africa's population is under 18. By the turn of the century, 50% of the world's children will be African. With 200 million people aged between 15 and 24, the youth bracket, Africa has the youngest population in the world. Wow. And this figure will double by 2045. According to the 2012 African Economic Outlook, in addition, by 2040, Africa's labor force will surpass that of India and China. Yet, of all regions, sub-Saharan Africa has the highest rate of education exclusion. The state of Liberia's education system is unstable and lacks the foundation necessary for the nation's development. Jackie continued, Liberia has one of the world's highest level of out-of-school children, with an estimated 15 to 20% of 6 to 14 years old not enrolled in schools. Liberia not only needs free and compulsory education, it needs a complete overhaul of the educational system with emphasis on technology, vocational skills, competent teachers, culturally relevant materials, and comprehension that focuses on current global realities and challenges. Liberia needs a holistic approach to educate its youth, innovate the classroom, involve the parents and community, make libraries accessible, encourage collaborative classroom interactions, and teach skills needed to navigate the new technology age. Schools must be places where students can not only learn but thrive. That means student-friendly classroom, functionally equipped bathroom, and enabling environment with accessible schools, electricity, sufficient school supplies, after-school programs, nutrition, secure environment, and competent teachers who serve as role models for students. The new natural resource in this world is brain power, and our young people must take their place amongst others in the new age. The proliferation of for-profit institutions of higher learning are unaccredited, lack qualified and quality models of instructions, and are saturating Liberia with incompetent graduates who are unprepared for rigorous practical work. The Commission on Higher Education needs to be more vigilant in weeding out these substandard institutions and must support those that are accredited but need resources. Uneducated youths of today are uneducated adults of tomorrow. Liberia must prioritize education by creating an enabling, wholesome, and inclusive environment for all children. That's the state of the nation's education from Jackie Sayer. At this time, we're going to go around the room for your response. This time, I'm going to start with Mr. Cooney to give his response to the State of the Nation address delivered by any of our panelists. Mr. Cooney.
Yeah, I would like to respond to, maybe not respond, but maybe make some remark on the presentation by my brother Kofa and Mohammed. I wholeheartedly agree with Morris when it comes to the issue of the sanitation problem in the country, specifically Monrovia. I think I stated that on this platform, even when I was in Monrovia, that one of the serious challenges that is in the city there has to do with the management. How do we handle waste, solid waste, and the different components of it? I think is an issue that needs urgent attention because it affects the health of the people, and I think that's something that needs to be done. So I agree pretty much with everything that you said on the waste issue. What with my friend Mohammed is diagnosis of a failing governance structure in Liberia. That's something I disagree with. I mean, our democracy is functioning. The legislature is functioning. The judiciary is functioning. The executive is functioning. I sometimes don't agree with this whole idea that the other branches of the government are powerless and that everybody is subjected to an almighty president. Uh, if people fail to do their responsibilities, they must be called out. There is no chair in the legislature. The legislature has one of the most qualified group of Liberians that are there. So if they are failing, let us talk tough and call them out for their failure. But to continue to blame the non-performance of adults and blame it on an imperial president is something that, I mean, that is getting overused and is not really relevant. To claim that the judiciary, the president, on the one hand, you say the president manipulates the judiciary, but now the president must go and overturn a judicial decision. Those are all contradictory things. Uh, People have the right to go to court. Cases are tried. Evidence is provided. Decisions are made. Judicial decisions are made. The system is there. Now we got an entire opposition that is suing one another in a court. And then you're going to go blame the government for manipulating the process. So the system of governance in our country is not perfect, but it's on course. It's on course. I mean, the rights of people, I mean, is respected. We got the newspapers, we got the radio stations, we got the talk show hosts, we got people exercising their different rights, right to assemble, and there may be time where there will be problem, but those rights are guaranteed. And I disagree with Mohammed when you talk about alleged government sponsor killing. There ain't no finding of alleged government sponsor killing in Liberia. The death of any Liberian is unfortunate. There are people that die in Liberia under mysterious circumstances, but to say that government sponsor, that is an irresponsible statement.
Thank you. At this time, let me go to Mrs. Cole Family to deliver her response to any of our panelists here delivering their State of the Nation.
Yeah, I mean, I was, really, I think Mohammed is on point with his opinions that he shared. I think that his opinions are informed and valid, and I am in agreement. I don't see anywhere where he said anything that isn't factual. Whether we like it or not, that is what it is. Whether other people are also responsible, the president is the leader of the country, and he is the implementer of everything that is supposed to be done. He's the ultimate implementer of the agenda of the nation. And so whenever we have a failure in an environment, in education, when the children are suffering, he ran for office. It is his responsibility ultimately to put the people in place to get these things fixed. The problems in Liberia are mountainous. It is not something that it takes a child to correct. It is going to take everybody to pull together to pull this country out of the pain and the misery that it's in. WIA is not going to be able to do this alone, but because he is the president, it is his responsibility to drive this ship. It is his responsibility to drive. So I think that Mr. Cooney, as usual, coming on and clapping and applauding the most basic sub-mediocre accomplishments that are barely scratching the surface of our problems is unfortunate. That is not, if we continue at this pace for 100 years, we will not reach where we need to be. I am not saying that, there is zero progress. What I am saying is what is going backward. For every little inch we move forward, we are taking tremendous leaps backward in progress. And so I completely disagree with you, Mr. Cooney. I think that we need to stop applauding the sub-mediocrity. I think we need to start holding Mr. Weah and all elected officials and government officials accountable for the responsibilities that they signed up for. They took on this challenge. They see the tremendous mess the country is in. No one forced them into the role of correcting these things. They volunteered for it. They signed up for it. They must do what they signed up to do. As difficult as it is, they have to take the bull by the horn and get to actual work. We don't have the time to play around. It's a drastic, desperate situation. We need drastic, immediate action. We can't sit around and say, oh, we only want market stuff. Market stalls are not saving lives. It's like the building burning down and then you go get 1 teaspoon of water and give it to the fireman to drink. How is that helping? Let's stop applauding this stuff and let's look at the serious disaster that's in front of us. And the other thing I want to say about Mr. Kofa's presentation, it's on point. And if you had given more time, you had given me more time, people watching this show would be terrified to know how bad the situation is. And it's not that we have created the situation. That is not what I'm saying. What I am saying is he signed up for the responsibility to correct it. That's what I'm saying. These problems have been snowballing out of control for some time. And if we're going to volunteer to be president, if we're going to volunteer to be lawmakers and tell people to vote for us, we have to be capable of doing what they need to have done.
Thank you, Carl. Let me go to Dr. Kofa for his response to any of the panelists.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Jab. Before I go there to respond to any of my colleagues, let me emphasize one thing here. The buck stopped at the president's desk, so to speak. When the president went to Glasgow at COP26, he delivered a powerful speech. And I was one of those who actually applauded that speech. And he spoke on behalf of Africa, even though he was representing Liberia. But what he said at COP about the climate change situation, how Africa was being impacted, and very little was given to Africa to mitigate, I thought that was powerful. But he failed to illuminate it. That highlight that he made at Costco, at his State of the Union address, I thought that was a missed opportunity. That was a missed opportunity. And I'm hoping. And why it is true that the buck stopped at the president there, but those people around the president, they have to do better than what some of them are doing. The speech for the president was very too long. It was 2 hours.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It was too long. The podium, I think, Jai, you the one said it, the podium, the president is a tall, huge man. You don't put the man in front of that kind of podium so short that he have to hoop over to talk. The man need comfort. I thought that was a very important missing point by some of the people that did that. Now, to Cooney's point, I agree with Cooney. There's progress made with some of these roads. They may not have been there are not many roads as we wanted to be, but let us also not forget that most of the problem the administration inherited are some of the problems that came from previous administration. I say that also for the environment. The solid waste management in Liberia has never been handled by any leadership in Liberia since Helen administration or even beyond that. But what we are saying, if this president is sitting in there and where all the buck stop at his desk, then those things that needs to be done and the people who are not doing them, let him either call them to question or kick them out because they're making him to look bad. Let's take it for example. Let's go to Mohammed's situation. Today, I was reading a statement from the State Department of the United States warning people to travel to Liberia because of the current situation, security, COVID, and a list of other things. So people that want to go now for the bicentennial now, they will think twice. If the U.S. Secretary or State Department is warning me, I have to think twice. These things are there. There are some people are dying in Liberia. I mean, high class people. I think I heard about the president's son. The president's son passed away. Toba's son passed away. I think Tokma's son passed away, and some of the other people that died. The four or people that died in Liberia. No, I don't. I don't think anybody in the rightful mind can blame the president for doing that. But when these things happen, we want for the president to take the air and reassure the people that we are going to investigate these things. This is not our way of life. There are some people who don't, but we have everything on an investigation, and we're going to do something. That reassurance alone from the president, it means a lot. But when the president does not say anything, everybody is subject to their own subjective analysis. And then when they do that, then when other people begin to say, oh, but then it seems that the government is comfortable. But we don't think so. These are the issue. And the other thing that I want to say, and through this media to the president and other people that are listening, is that the government has to open its arms to its own Liberian. Liberia is not brain drained. People keep using that word. They are Liberian in the diaspora that are far educated, qualified. But it has to open up to these people and bring them in so that we can all pull together, and build Liberia. And again, something Kuni said that I took interest in is the issue of Liberia wanting to go to Liberia to build. But that incentive have to be given to us for us to go. But the dual citizenship. There are a lot of us here. I mean, I made no apology for it. I came to America before the war started. But I came for a purpose. I did not run away from the war. I came here and I worked. During the war, I had to work 3 jobs to support my family in the Ivory Coast, in Guinea, and what have you. All the remittances I was sending in. But now if I go home to Liberia, I'm like an alien in my own country. If I even have money and ready to retire, I encourage Amar to take my $500,000 or more to take it to go invest in Liberia when I do not even have any political right to do anything for myself, take a position, do something. So these are critical issues that we want for our government to listen to. And when we come up with this critical and very constructive criticism, we mean well for the country. And I think what Mohammed is talking about, Mohammed is right in some areas. These are some of the feedback he's getting. But the government is not doing much to actually allay our fears. And the issue lastly on call and that the statement from Jackie about education. Education is one of the most crippling situations in Liberia. You see children 5, 6 years putting market on their head to go sell. Just to make somebody. Last time I have to look at one boy, I felt sorry for him. He was selling candy. He in the traffic, I think 7 or 8 years old. And how much profit he making for it? I asked him how much for the whole candy. He said 600 Liberian dollars, which is less than $5. I took $5, I gave it to him because I wanted him to go home. That the street was too dangerous for him. That is the kind of situation we find our people living in. We don't expect for everything to be done overnight, but at least let somebody can be given immediate attention, especially our youth. The education is a joke. The education is a joke in the country. Like too many universities around, too many schools, vocational school around, they are not competent. So they produce incompetent people who end up being incompetent adults.
Exactly.
And these are the kind of things we got to give some focus. I don't think everybody find comfort in criticizing when there's no need to criticize. But at least someone has to listen, and no one is not listening. And that's the frustration we have.
Thank you, Dr. Kofa. Let's go to Mohammed for his response. I know the CDC puppet lay a lot on your plate.
Well, he did, but at the same time, I have panelists, great panelists, I call, and Mr. Kofa have already said a lot of what I was about to delve into. But another thing I was going to say is that when we talk about, when I speak about this administration, right, I do so from the position of a patriotic Liberian. I am a patriot. I love Liberia. And so when I see the country in bad hands, I feel extremely hurt. And this is the position from which I speak. And it seems as though that those who are running the country, every single day, there's a new layer of malfeasance, of ineptitude that's not addressed. And they don't care. They do not care. So you had a situation recently where the Chiefs were given, before we started the show, and I was talking about it, and you best believe I was going to talk about it when the show started. So the Chiefs were giving 30 pickup trucks and 15 ambulances, 150 motorbikes, right? So they didn't ask for all of that, but he decided, the president of the Republic of Liberia, Mr. Weah, decided to give him more. That is administrative cost. That is too much. Already you want to downgrade the existing fleet of vehicles circulating in the bureaucracy. We already have a bloated bureaucracy. This is a top-heavy bureaucracy. This bureaucracy is consuming half of the country's budget. If you don't believe me, listen to the president's State of the Nation address. The nation's intake was from taxes and grants was about $650 million, according to his State of the Nation address. About 44 to 45% of that was used for upkeep of the public sector. That is enormous. That is too much. So what are you leaving for areas that Cole talked about? Education of young people. What are you leaving now for area that Dr. Kofa talked about? Sanitation. What are you leaving for other critical areas? Security. Again, Mr. Kofa talked about, when I retire, how am I going to go home? One of the things that he didn't mention there was security. How secure is my neighborhood that I'm going to reside in? Is anybody going to come over there? Because now I'm from the United States. Is anybody going to come over there and target me? And what is going to be the police response time? What does the court system look like? Do they prosecute anybody for anything? You have all kinds of things going on, and nobody is in jail right now. So it's as if the nation has no leadership. So there is a deficit of national leadership at this time as we speak. And this is very hurtful, because when this president ran, he ran to better the conditions of the Liberian people. But he's doing the very opposite, and he does not care one bit. Right now, they're putting all their energies in the program that they're going to have in 2 weeks' time, which is, to me, flawed, but they can do whatever they want to do, right? They are going to now celebrate, they said, the 200-year anniversary of Liberia. Historically, they need to look at that. They need to revisit something like this. So when you talk about 200 years, so at what point you're starting the Liberian nation state? I'm not going to go into all of that. Okay? At what point you're starting Liberia? Are you starting this nation again, its independence in 1847? Are you starting this in 1822? And if you're going to celebrate this 200-year anniversary, what about people who came from the great empires of Mali, who migrated to that part of Africa, from the great Mali and Songhai Empire? that came down to the coast of Liberia. So when are we going to celebrate them? And these are real issues. Well, you know what? If you don't have people with intellectual curiosity to think through these things, they are not going to study these issues. It is none of their concerns. What they're concerned about right now is the tourism, the tourist dollars that they're going to get so that they can buy more Mercedes and Cadillacs and houses in Paris and all of that. Enough with this. Enough of this. And it has to take a patriot to really understand what is going on. And you know, this nation, we're in trouble. We're in crisis. You know, when people get sick, they go to a doctor. Mohammed Sharif is not a doctor. So I hope you're not going to come to me and say, you know, hey, you know, can you treat me? Because I'm not a doctor. Okay? You go to the hospital and you're going to get a doctor who will treat you. When you have a nation in crisis, the nation has to be led by a leader. The nation has to be led by someone who knows what they are doing. These guys, what they're doing right now, it doesn't seem like they know what they're doing. If you don't believe me, listen to some of the government officials, some of the people who even work for the government. Last time we were talking about the corruption in the judiciary, and an attorney, a Liberian attorney, was on the show interrupting Mrs. Famula and myself. Jaywell was, you know, all over the place with his support for the current administration. But Justice Kabat said that the judicial system of government is the black cow. Those are his words. Is the black cow. I don't know what he means by you know, that term black cow, but you know, I kind of know what he meant by black cow. It's the most corrupt. It's very corrupt. He says the black cow in the government. So we understand, all of us around here understand, unless you're supporting the CDC, we understand what is going on.
Thank you. Thank you. Don't mean to interrupt you, but let's bring in a few comments here. And we want to welcome our viewers. You can also give us your State of the Union by calling. The number is in the ticker right there. But let's see. Joseph Conto say the state of our nation is in a rapid free fall. The state of our nation is in a rapid free fall. Anthony Sear, the state of the nation is Zogos. Jim Davis, out of the roles you just mentioned, how many miles have President Weah completed and how many miles from previous government? Musu, why didn't he mention it in the State of the Union speech? Musu referred to, I'm not sure. Alexander said, Brownie Samuka, your next destination is at the next stop. Yeah. Joseph also said the same Solicitor General connived with the murderer who killed my brother, Deputy Police Commissioner Alexander B.C., and in the case to let the killers go free. I don't know about that. Joseph, if you want to make some comments here, please be sure you have evidence here. James Tanu said the best performing president since the country's independence in 1847. President Weah got my vote till your second term ends. All right, those are a few of our comments here. Let me take a call. There's a caller on the line. Let me take a call. Caller, your name and where you calling from?
Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
And your name again, please?
James Davis.
Go ahead, James.
Yeah, my question mainly goes to the political analyst, Mr. Conan. He talked about President Weah,
the road,
the nation, and roads and other stuff. But my question here is, President Weah always say I, and on the donated car he gave the people, he put his name on it. So I want you to address that question. Was this personal money or GOL money? My second question also go to My second question, because why I ask that question is when you were roofing the houses in Chinatown, you say and later on it becomes GOL. We're talking about the system of government. We're talking about system of government. We were in government. There were rape cases in Nigeria. My son, permanent member that worked in the embassy, and the ambassador came over, they let him go. And we had another foreign minister in Moreover that rape case also taking him that cannot travel. He also there. And the government is not even putting a UN representative of Liberia and other areas, even down to public where locally, public where minister, we don't have public where minister and other agencies appointed also now. And but they're still saying the government is doing well.
Thank you.
So my question goes to him in that direction. Then he analyze it for me.
Thank you. Mr. Kumi, I'll read some comments here, and then there's a question here for you.
Should I answer the question?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah. First of all, the donated items, I think you heard the president clearly that some of those items were financed by the government of Liberia and that some were his personal donation. So if you donate something personally, I mean, there's nothing that buy you from wherever you want to make your donation, how you want to make it, except somebody now can say, oh, what he said was personal, is financed by the GOL money. But for me, that is not a serious question. The serious question is, are those things useful for our people? I mean, the fact that the president put a name on the motorbike and stopped the motorbike from starting, so what is the utility of these things? That's a better question for me. And now we can't have it both ways. We can't say, oh, the president, if anything happening in the country, the buck start with him, then when you use no, you can't use you got to use we. So, that's not a substantial, it's not a substantial question for me. The president indicated that he did personally donate things, and maybe those things that he donated, I don't know which of the items were his personal donation. He put a name on it, but it's not even unprecedented. Donald Trump gave us stimulus check, he signed it, we all cash the check, and we put a check in our bank. So what difference it make?
Thank you. Ref, let me read this one again, and call. You can come in with any of these. PK talk about, I think the environmental issue in Liberia is a serious problem. The entire Monrovia city has only one landfill center, which is located in Wenstown, Pinsville Community, Maserado. This cell currently in use was built in 2012 and was due for 6 years. But since then, the government still using this that is overdue. Because of this, the cell no longer hold a leakage from the solid waste. As a result, the leakage from the cell is rolling down the community, affecting the underground water, I suppose. Dr. Kofa, you take that one.
Yeah, absolutely, he is right. In fact, he was kind enough to say that it benefits here, but again, it benefits ever so long. And that's what I said earlier, that the environmental problem in the country does not only bother the current administration. It started from past administrations, and the government having to have taken it up. But the chief member, the people got to understand there is a difference between an engineering sanitary landfill and an ordinary sanitary landfill. An engineering sanitary landfill is designed to carry a pure assortment to control leaches so that it doesn't affect the surface and underground water. And when it's not there and everything is at the holding station, then when the leaches produces as the result of the composition of all of the trash that put in there, because the newspaper he uses, they are all chemical and there are other chemical involved. So when you do not control the leaches, then it seeps into the underground water and the surface water. And this is why most of the drinking well the people bathe in the country, when they do not follow proper wet policy, some of them get contaminated. And so, yeah, the problem is there. And what I'm begging the Liberian people to do is for the Liberian government to finish the Chisme sanitary landfill. Liberia has a population of over 5 million people. And one engineering sanitary landfill is not enough. There should be one, because they got to take the trash. If they ever try to take the trash from Nikuta, they will drive it all the way to Wingtown before they drop it there. Or as they get through it all over the place, and that's how come you see the part of trash. So there has to be a systematic procedure. And one other thing, there are laws on the books in Liberia, very good laws, but the laws lack enforceability. No one to enforce it is due to governance, and most of these things are happening in the municipalities that no one talks about. And until when the government begin to take a holistic approach to ensuring that the municipality enforced by the laws, trust me, if anybody walking down the street and try to throw trash or plastic bag out of their car window or somewhere, they got to be punished. But before you do that, you have to provide plan B. If you tell someone not to urinate somewhere, then you got to provide a sanitary or unitary tank somewhere so that they can use it, because
Right.
it has to take a course. If you stop somebody from defecating somewhere, then you have to build something for them to use. And until all of those systems are put in place, we've been talking about the trash burning for the past 10, 15 years, and we still coming back to talk about it because, the problem still exists, but the law are not being enforced. The laws are there, but they are not being enforced. And that is the problem that EPA is having. EPA is not working effectively because they got serious budgetary allotment. The other new agency they got there, the National Disaster Emergency, when that event happened in Newport, they were not even in the picture because they just there on UN Drive. They are incapacitated. They are
Thank you.
incapacitated.
Thank you, Dr. Kofa. Let me bring in an overseas caller and then we go to solutions. Let's delve a little more up with the policy proposal. But we have a caller here from overseas. William, bro, bienvenue.
Merci. So I just okay. Anyway, I sure you got my number. I say, and I say to all of the great people there on the show, our great panelists. My love and respect to all of you.
Thank you, sir. Go ahead with the state of the nation.
Yeah, I think the state of the nation was a great one. We are not there yet, but we are making progress. One thing that I will admire the president for keeping our peace, because since the war in 2005, he was the first president that led our peace. For 4 years, without having foreign peacekeepers on the ground, it's very important. Then we talk about the improvement in education. I think our education system is improving. Yes, we're lacking those materials that should be in those buildings. But I think our students are passing for the international scene, especially when it comes to the WACs. And the free, tuition free at the public university and colleges. I think he did well when it comes to that. Then when it comes to the connectivity or rules, we are getting there, trying to be performing. If the economy, yes, the economy is stable, but I cannot say the economy is strong, but the economy is getting stable. We are getting there because economic issue.
The president said the economy is growing.
Yes, it's growing. That's another good word to use, is growing. But I will not say it is strong.
Okay.
No, I will not. Okay.
So,
yes,
so William, what are some of the things to show that our educational system is improving?
Yeah, the reason is that for me, I follow the education system a lot in our country.
I know.
In fact, for the past 10 years, under this administration, for the past 3 years, under this administration, we have the highest number of people passing in WAC. It has never happened like that before in our country for almost 10 years before we are coming to power. Even when we were graduating from out of high school in 2005, it never happened like that. The number increased. People who pass in WAC, meaning the West African Examination Council, they are very, very increasing here. They are very, very increasing. So these are things that at least, you see, we should take our sentiment and politics. Maybe we just want to see leaders, maybe we're not in their favor and then. But these are twofold things.
Thank you.
Yeah, then let's come to the issue. Yeah, let me just close on this one.
Okay.
Somebody was talking about the president giving gifts on a car and what have you. It's simple. Me, I want to ask, there's a simple thing. Every time you have a government, the government can allocate projects and other things through the budget. Now, if you look at the budget line, there was nothing in the 2021 budget line that talk about pickups and motorbike for chiefs.
Right.
But there were ambulance in that budget line. That's why the ambulance carried donated by GOL, but the pickups and the motorbike put there donated by the president. So anything that is not in the budget line of the country, it is not from the country.
Thank you.
So people should also understand that things can just jump. Yeah, people. So the president, I think those things are the president's own gift. Remember, the president did come with a lot of immunity. So
yeah, I know. I'm a for you. But thank you, William. Let me go to my panelists. Let's start with Carl to respond to that, and then we go into our solutions side of it.
Yeah, you know, the one of the problems is also the solution. And I don't mean to contradict Dr. Kofa, but we actually, according to United Nations Statistics Department, have one of the highest incidents of brain drain on the planet. About 75 to 80% of our skilled labor force lives outside of Liberia. That's astronomical, and that is really the problem. If you have 80% of your skilled labor force living outside of the country, you know, even if that number is the lower end of the statistical scale, which was 75%, 3 out of 4 of our skilled, educated professionals do not live in Liberia, are not contributing to the advancement of Liberia. There's no country in this world that would be in a better situation than Liberia is in today if 3/4 of their skilled population, their educated population, got up and walked away. If that happened in the state of Georgia, everything would collapse. Healthcare would collapse, education would collapse, everything would fall apart. There's no country in this world. In fact, the United States is what is sucking all of the skilled labor from all over the world to make itself great. So a lot of the brain drain is coming here to the United States. It doesn't mean that the people in Liberia are not smart, are not geniuses. It means that even the teachers that should be teaching the children are not there. The doctors, the nurses, the real skilled nurses that are getting world-class educations are not working in Liberia. When you talk about medical doctors in the country, you hear one name repeatedly, Dr. Doe, of his generation. He's like a rock star. But there are literally hundreds of young doctors of Liberian descent in the United States, young, in their 30s, late 20s to mid 30s, early 40s, contributing to the healthcare industry in the United States, doing research. We've got psychiatrists, we've got psychologists, we've got principals, we have coaches, we have educators, lawyers with Juris Doctorate degrees, uncountable ones. We have many, many skilled, successful, educated people that are doing great things for other countries. This is why Liberia looks the way it does. It's not because Liberians are stupid. It is because there was a huge capital flight. Because of the war, it ripped out some, not all, but many of the best and the brightest citizens were ripped out of the country to survive.
So, Carl, how do we get them back? What can we do now?
The solution then also lies in these people. And the situation is drastic. It calls for drastic solutions, drastic measures. One of the first things that needs to happen is we need to start talking, having a national conversation about unity and stop vilifying citizens that had to run away from war. I will say another thing I do disagree with a lot of people that live in the diaspora. I went to Liberia. I lived in Liberia for 8 years. I left this country. My children were young. I had my kids going to school. We lived in Liberia for 8 years. It was the most difficult, challenging 8 years of my life. That's a different show. It was hard. It was expensive. The healthcare, my kids get sick, your heart is in your throat because you don't even know. As soon as you get to the doctor, they want to get a child drip. They don't even know what's wrong. They want to stick something in their vein. So there's a lot of things wrong and it becomes dangerous. So what we need to do is have a real conversation. Another thing, they get angry because you have an accent. Why are you speaking Cerise? This is how I talk. This is how I talk. My name is Call. I'm from Ganta. You know, we had a war. I was a child. I'm not going to pretend to speak a way that I can't speak. I'm not going to try to change who I am. You can't make me un-Liberian. And I will say this, I never, other than the bullying for the way I speak when I went home, nobody ever made me to really, to be honest with you, nobody ever made me to feel that I wasn't Liberian. I had privileges because I had gone to school abroad. So that we do have to be honest here and stop acting like, you know, you go home, they won't let you buy land. That's not true. I own land. I own property in Liberia. Nobody ever stopped me from doing anything because of my accent, other than people invoking me when I would say something radical and then want to put me down. Oh, Jack, go back to America. But that's okay. You know, we bully each other. Fine. We need to get past those superficial things. They knew that I was Liberian, and that's where my heart and my soul was. They saw my children going to school every day. They said, oh, they're getting serious. Your children here, everybody here. So at the end of the day, you know, these little petty things that we worry about that stop us from contributing, it is in our heads.
Thank you.
My brother, just really quick, my brother has a farm. People doing a lot of positive things in Liberia right now. In spite of all of the situations, there's still people that are investing in the country, and that needs to be said. The solution to Liberia's problems lies with Liberian citizens, all of them, both in Liberia and abroad. And it doesn't necessarily mean everybody got to work or consult with government. There's a lot of private sector. We're talking about foreign direct investment. It should be Liberians doing the foreign direct investment. Go get your grandpa land and start a farm. Every one of us, we sitting down in America, we get farm road in Liberia. We shouldn't pretend that we don't. None of us have been completely amputated from that country. We have roots. All of us have roots. Go back to your roots. Start with the town you were born in. Start with your grandpa farm. Plant some seeds. Encourage your cousins that you left behind there to do something. Not everything that government. The money you're spending to go to the bar, cut 2 or 3 bar trips a month out and start a little pepper bush on your grandparents' farm and see how far that goes. Do something.
Thank you, Call. And I'll call Mr. Mohammed, and let's see if he has something right there in Kilipo. Mr. Sharif, I heard your State of the Nation, and you lay the blame entirely on the president. Are you excusing other parts of this government, like we have the lawmakers, we have the judicial, Liberian people and leaders in different areas? Why are you putting too much of the burden on the president? And it looked like to me that you are giving others a pass.
No, I'm not giving others a pass. We've spent numerous hours on this platform talking about other branches of government. The other day we were talking about the judiciary.
Exactly.
Another time we're talking about the legislature. And when we were talking about those, institutions, the president didn't even come up frequently when we did that. Dennis, you can pick one branch and spend 40 years talking about that one branch, talking about the flaws of that one branch of government. So it's not just the president. That being said, the president is, whether we like it or not, is the most powerful person in the Republic of Liberia. I mentioned at the top of the show how the president is very involved. The presidency, I should say, is very much in the lives of the Liberian people. From Barclay, Charles King, Barclay, Tubman, Tolbert, Dole, and all these other presidents, Ellen Johnson, Sirleaf, everybody, right, have been involved in the lives of the Liberian people. So the president is seen as the father, or in the case of Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, the mom of the nation, right? So that's the way it is. That's the fact of the matter. So therefore, it is therefore incumbent upon the holder of that office to hold themselves in high regards when it comes to George Weah. He does not respect the office of the presidency. The office of the presidency has been degraded under this administration, and that is something that we haven't even talked about
Mr.
tonight.
Sharif,
The degradation.
let's talk about the solution now. So what are you proposing to fix what you've just described?
My solution for all of this, I'm hoping that the president can have a change of heart, but I have no hope. I mean, I'm very pessimistic when it comes to this leadership. So maybe it's time to, put in a new occupant in the executive mansion. Let's see what's going to happen if we have a new occupant in the executive mansion. One of the things that this president should have done is I think there was a clean sweep after the president came into office. All of the office holders from the previous administration, the majority of the office holders from the previous administration was just wiped clean. So they didn't have any roles or any major roles to play in this administration. For example, you have the former Minister of Finance under Mrs. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, a brilliant, technocrat, Amara Conan, who's around here, and I don't know if he's being consulted. Cole is here, who has years of experience. He worked with the previous administration, and we all know, who she is, what she's capable of. I mean, and so you have enormous. So this government has people that resources right now that they can tap, but they don't want to. Dennis, 4 years. It's been 4 years. There's no reshuffle. There's been no reshuffle. Have you heard any reshuffle? No. You still have the same finance minister. You still have the same minister of state. All of the things, the ineptitude, the corruption, the malfeasance, so the president is fine with it. So one of my solutions is the president needs to take a stock of what's going on, at least have a reshuffle. Get in touch. You have a lot of resources at your disposal. The diaspora, there's a reason why Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, and I wasn't really a supporter, but there's a reason why she frequented the diaspora. There's a reason why she invited Liberians to go back home and contribute to their country. And so there were Liberians who answered her call and went back to serve. So we can say all we want, but the way things were then is not the same as now. Now we've taken 200 steps backwards, and that is my disappointment. I am tremendously disappointed. And Dennis, I don't want to be disappointed all the time. Okay, I want to come here one of these days and speak glowingly of everything that George Weah is doing. I don't want to be doing this, but I am put in a position where I do this. And then when I do, people like Mr. Cooney, try to contradict, the obvious.
Thank you. Let me go to Mr. Cooney. Mr. Cooney, I hear you, defend the president most of the time. Will this be, there's an African saying that God gives food to every bird, but does not throw it in their nest. You're saying the president is doing well, but he can't make you, the opportunities are there, in other words. He can't make you take it. You got to go get it yourself. Is that what really you're saying when people are saying, well, we are suffering, and you keep saying the president is doing well?
Well, I mean, the fact that the president is doing well does not negate that there is no suffering in the country. That's not the argument. The argument is looking at the totality of our problem. Are we making progress as a society? And I've indicated specific areas that we are making progress. There are other areas where there are great challenges. So I'm not saying everybody is doing well in Liberia or the president is doing 100% well in Liberia. I'm focusing on a specific area where I believe progress is being made.
Right.
And
So in those areas, progress is not being made or challenges, what solution do you have?
Well, we'll encourage the government to continue to make progress in those areas. But let me go back to where I think progress is made in the area, because I believe fundamentally, as I stated to you, no society can develop its economic resources if you don't have roads, if there is no connectivity of roads in the country. So and this thing cannot be described as mediocre. The increase in road construction to about that doubles almost at the end of the president term, that may double almost what we had. It's not a mediocre project. The different corridors, the economic corridors where these roads are created, we're not talking about community roads. We're talking about Banga to Salaye to Monokomna, all of these roads across the country. These are the kind of connectivity that we need to boost the economy, to jumpstart the economy, to help accelerate agricultural development, which everybody says is one of the main areas we could generate massive employment. So the fact that we notice progress doesn't mean everybody is well off. There has never been a period in Liberian history where everybody was ever well off. And societies develop by building incremental progress. One administration comes today, make a progress. The next administration comes, makes another progress. That doesn't mean people were not suffering. People I was a child when I saw market as a child to go to school. I saw rice bread. I saw bucket. I call it bottles from the swamp in Nikrutan. The star bottle I sold it to beer factory. So to say that because this thing exists, so our country is now falling down. And sometimes where was Liberia like Sweden when George we had to get over and dump it back to where it is? Like one of the panelists said, the problem we have in the country are historical problems. The challenges are enormous. And I say that those things cannot even be solved by one administration. The solution will come by successes of very serious administration over time. Right. So nobody is saying that there is no challenges in Liberia. I was in Liberia. I saw people with different challenges at different levels. Right. But are we making progress as a society? I see progress in other areas, and I see other areas that we are lacking. That's the fact. And
so
this is why
in those areas that we are lacking, what do you advise? What would be the solution so that we can come up in those areas too and make progress?
For us to pay more attention and for us to find more solutions to those.
And what should the president do to those areas that we are lacking?
You see what the president can do?
Yeah, what the president should do.
I say, for example, in the area of sanitation that we talk here, the president needs to pay more attention. The president needs to pay more attention to the issue of agriculture, because agriculture generates employment.
And why is he not paying more attention, do you think?
Because again, look, the resources are scarce.
Okay.
The resources are scarce, so you got to develop what they call priority. In economics, there is something they call priority. You can't solve all of Liberian problems at the same time. And there won't be any government that will solve all of Liberian problems at the same time, or else we'll not be even talking about environmental things.
I would say this. Through my observation, I think of all the areas that this administration has, I can't believe this is coming out of my mouth. Of all the areas that this administration has said that they're doing well in, I would say the one avenue that I do see progress being made in Liberia is agriculture. I disagree with Kuni on that. I think, of course, there's always more that can be done. But I think in many areas, things are being neglected. But as far as encouraging and creating an environment in rural Liberia that encourages agriculture, there are a lot of rice farms springing up all over the place. There's a lot of agricultural activity happening in Liberia. I'm not sure that, it's a WIA initiative. I don't know if it's, the agriculture minister or Liberian people are just like, you know what, let's start growing food again. I don't know what it is, but I do notice that there's an increase in agricultural activity in Liberia. That should not be downplayed. And I know this because I'm even involved, and there's a lot of people involved. It is creating jobs in the rural areas. I think with the road connectivity, we're going to see a lot more a farm to market produce. Agriculture is not only about food. They're growing a lot of industrial crops in Liberia now as well. Cocoa plantations are springing up. Old cocoa plantations that were neglected are being, weeded, and they're people are doing things. You've got palm plantations all over the place. If you just go to Google Earth and span over like Lofa and Nimba, you see how many oil palm plantations booming. I mean, there's a lot of agriculture growth. Are these ministers and government officials setting up these farms? Not always. A lot of these are private citizens doing these things. So I think just because we're not all aware of it doesn't mean we should downplay it. I think the WE administration has an opportunity there to encourage more of it. And I don't think that at the very least, it's not being suppressed. And there is some economic boom when it comes to agriculture. And I think CDC government needs to seize that opportunity, make sure that people are getting their land deeds, make sure that people are being encouraged with tax breaks to do these kinds of projects. But I do, not to disagree with you, Pakumi, and defend the administration. I can't believe I'm doing this, but it is the truth. There's a lot of buzz happening as far as agriculture, from my observation, from what I've seen personally.
Thank you.
I think, Dennis, if I may come in. If I may just...
1 minute, and then we can go to our comment.
Okay, just a second there. So what Cole is mentioning, it's what Cole just mentioned is correct. That being said, it's a lot of private initiatives. What happened during the war is a lot of people got very much exposed to, when you went into other countries, you saw oil palms and, different things. In the sub-region, there's a lot of farming activities going on. So that could be a contributing factor. And one of the things that the CDC government needs to do now is to tap into that, seize the bull by the horn. I think there's a lot of laissez-faire on the part of this administration. They're not really, I don't think they're too involved with it. You don't see them talking about this a lot. So, for example, when they give out dish out these cards to the paramount chiefs and all of that for campaign purposes, they needed to dedicate this to agriculture. They need to dedicate more resources to agriculture. Cole talks about tax breaks and all of that, and that is correct. And they need to push more things towards agriculture and to ensure that the nation actually feeds itself. So I think the boom is not a credit to George Weah, because I don't really think that they have a plan to boost the food production of the country.
Can I come in quickly? For 1 minute?
Okay, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I mean, look, we were to look at the State of the Union. If you read the entire speech, you will see areas of progress, including agriculture. And I could have selected to talk about it, but like I said, I'm more passionate about rules than other things. But like what Cole said, it is not by accident. If you read the State of the Union report, you will see the activities of the Ministry of Agriculture, the assistance that is being given to the ministry. I think it's about $70 million, and there are different programs that are related to some of these improvement in agriculture. You go in Monrovia, you got Kofa is there. You go to any market, you see the food products all over the place. I mean,
you say from Guinea, but let's few of our comments here.
Yeah, a lot of these from overseas.
Mr. Cooper Kwame said there is no solution to what is going on in the country right now. For the more you recommend, the more you cry and complain, the more you are ignored. Josh Dunbar, agriculture is the foundation of national economy, and it has been proved by the basic theories and empirical researches of development economists that agricultural productivity can directly affect the process of industrialization and urbanization and the development of other industries and economic sectors. Lincoln Getty, Dennis, I know you are angry of what is coming out of this guy's mouth. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not angry. I shouldn't be angry here. Abby Tyler said, everybody can farm. Why not build factories that can employ a whole village? Build clinics that hire healthcare professionals. Labrador needs a healthy middle class. Francis Wilson, well said, Carl, not as simple as you argue, but regardless, our naval strength is there, and that holds us almost hostage, and we soldier on. Well, I think when you were talking about agriculture there, Asan Saba, how do you galvanize our resources abroad to assist drastically to improve our educational development? There are a few basic things we can do here. Feed the children twice a day, provide transportation, provide food. We are talking and doing nothing. According to the brother, we are doing nothing. Again, David Collins said, we have been talking since J.J. Roberts' day. I think it's time every meaningful Liberians engage the government directly with our own developmental plans and financing for whichever sector we want the government to allow us. With that said, a meaningful committee should be formed out here to take this message to the president, but we in the diaspora need to step up first with our own efforts. Those are some of the comments. Let's see if we have any call. There's no call here. So a lot of things happening here. Let's take this time now to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Tabata of the week.
At Focus on Liberia, we discuss everything Liberia, from education to politics, arts and culture, entertainment, agriculture, history, religion, family, and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This is Focus on Liberia, and I am Dennis Jar.
Nazir.
Mr. Conan, before we continue on, there's a question here for you. And then we go into our Tabata session. From Francis C. Wilson, will Mr. Coney explain how donating 2 trucks to the chiefs of 15 counties, 30 trucks at what cost? Of course, it's a political move, but consider what could have been done if those money had been used to incentivize the people in those counties. And I said, but why is the president not giving the ambulances to the hospitals instead of chiefs? But Mr. Coney, quickly, you have 30 seconds to speak to that.
Well, I mean, again, I don't understand the basis of that question. The people in the counties, the people in our rural environment, they have their needs. Transportation is one of the basic needs in those places. So, except somebody is arguing that, the only place we need cars and transportation is Monrovia, that question don't make no sense to me.
Thank you. Campbell Dennis said, it is extremely sad. You wouldn't believe that many Liberians are suffering and still living in abject poverty, and it has even increased under the current government. The economy is in ruins, the healthcare sector is poor, education sector is paralyzed, and the justice system lacks total credibility. The goal of national security is currently threatened. Several disadvantaged youths are parading the streets and engaged in drug abuse and drug trafficking. The fact is that there is no as I think that solution. We now take this time to go through our session that most of our viewers listen to or enjoy. That's the Tabata session. We want our viewers to engage, and also viewers use one word to describe the state of the nation, and we'll put that on the screen. But let's go around the room, and we'll start with our guest, Ms. Dr. Morris Kofa. Dr. Kofa, what's the Tabata of the week that you see? You are from
Yeah, before I go to the Tabata of the week, let me shed a little light on a few things that was said. I like to piggyback on what my brother Coney said earlier. That look, when our people work on the constitution of our country, they created three major branches of government: the executive, the judiciary, and the legislative branch. And when they did that for a purpose for check and balances. And most of the things that are happening in Liberia, particularly from the environmental perspective, has to be with all of these branches of government are now working together to create that check and balance system that they actually intended for it to be. Like, for example, we're in Liberia about a month ago, and we reached out to the Speaker of the House to be a keynote speaker for the environmental or the mini environmental conference we're trying to have to bring together the municipality, let's say Pinsville mayor and the mayor of the Mora City Corporation and Nikuta and other stakeholders. And we try to bring them in and ask the speaker to speak or the president of the pro tem with the mind that saying they are the policy maker and what have you. They will see the need for to invest because government is spending millions of dollars every year for hospitals. Statistics tells us that over 65% of the illnesses in Liberia are environmentally related. And when these patients go, whether Redemption Hospital, JFK, or wherever they go for treatment as a result of typhoid or malaria or something else, they end up in government hospital, and many of them don't have jobs, so they don't have insurance, and they get there, and the government forced to treat them. The medication they gave them, the doctor that take care of them, those doctors are paid by the government. So if they hold true, does it not make sense for the policymaker to come back to the table to say, look, they give the thing serious attention so that we can reduce the burden on us? Because if we reduce the burden, then we can use the money for other social program in the country. But no, it's not happening. In Pinsville, where most of the government officials live, I'm not going to call no name. Most of them live in Pinsville, but they drive through the trash every morning to come to Montreal to work, and they drive through the trash to go back to their homes. You go to Niku Town or historic district or borough, I mean, that were given to the people of the Crew people because of their work they did during the independence of our country. That borough is totally decimated. I passed through that borough. Many of us passed through that borough, but we neglect it today. So the environment is important, folks. I am even appealing to the diaspora community that because to manage trash trash management is a very exhaustive cost undertaking. The government cannot do it alone. We have to come together. We have to come together to deal with the situation because even those are all that go to Liberia for visit, we are not immune from the air we breathe. Not even the president is immune from the air. The air we breathe, everybody air. When that air is toxic, all come back sick. Let's give it attention. And this is the right platform to do that.
Thank you. So I'll give you a break there since you've just spoken. Let's
It's too late, baby, go to bed. I don't need your Tabata. Baby, oh, your Tabata. I'm gonna go away, your Tabata.
Mr. Kune, let's start with you. Your Tabata of the week.
My Tabata of the week, really, I mean, it's kind of funny. You have the opposition that have the opposition. They've derated our judiciary. They've politicized the judiciary. The judiciary is incompetent. The judiciary is being manipulated, and all of a sudden they've rediscovered their faith in the judiciary to the point now where they carry one another to court. They carry one another to court. And the current chairman of the collaborating political parties is slated to testify against the former chairman of the collaborating political parties. The chairman of another opposition party is suing another prominent member of the opposition party in the judiciary that is is incompetent. It's politicized, it's manipulated. So that new faith, that new form faith that the CPP members of the opposition have for in the judiciary, I think that's the greatest political tabata I've seen for anybody to carry on.
Thank you. Let me go to call for her Tabata of the week.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically rapes that are going without any type of statement from law enforcement. There was a woman that was gang raped, literally to death, raped and sodomized to death. There's a video circulating of a little boy who's probably about 4 or 5 years old at most. They naked him and tortured him on the video, accused him of having sex with another small child. And where would a 4 or 5-year-old boy learn about sex except from watching it? Someone exposed him to this behavior. And then they had the audacity to strip the little boy naked and punish him, made him squat with a stick behind his legs, tortured this little boy. And people, Liberians, not only in Liberia, but in the diaspora, are sharing this video around laughing. They think it's amusing. So for me, the greatest Tabata is our unprotected women and children and how it's become normalized in the society to abuse and humiliate and even rape women and children. And it goes without any investigation, without any justice. There's nothing that good can come out of a society that has reduced itself to that level of savagery. And until those things are addressed, we'll continue as we are.
Thank you. Mr. Sharif.
For me, my Tabata borders on just sheer inefficiency. The African Cup of Nations started a couple of weeks ago in Cameroon. Nigeria was a participant. Prior to their departure, 2 of their very good players, one of them was the leading scorer 2 years ago. The FIFA rule requires that in order for an international player to join their home team, you have to give the current club 2 weeks, a 2-week notice. Nigeria failed to do this for 2 of their best players. Odion Igalo and Emmanuel Dennis didn't join the team because their football association or their soccer association was very incompetent. They probably forgot or whatever, they neglected, but those guys didn't join them, and Nigeria was kicked out in the second round. They were one of the favorites, heavy favorites, but because of some of those, they were kicked out early. So how incompetent. So that's my Tabata of the week.
Thank you. Dr. Kofa.
Yeah, well, my Tabata of the week, I watched the Guinean government, the military leader in Guinea, and he bashed on his team that if the Guinean government going to pay you money to do what you're supposed to do, you better bring us a win. If you don't, you will pay back our money. And what I'm saying here is our president is a football icon or was a football icon. And we expect people that come from Liberia that go to play a game must bring us some wins. If they don't do it, let them pay back some of the money that they gave them to go, play for that game. I think the Guinean president action really motivated me, and I'm hoping that in Liberia go down there, they should do better to bring back a game. If not, they should be punished.
Wow, this is the first Tabata that I want to openly disagree with, but
okay.
Well,
okay.
I'll bring my Tabata for this one from Jerome Roberts. My Tabata here is when the president was speaking about the budget, he stopped and said, "You listen, oh." Francis Wilson, my Tabata of the week is dealing with the willfully deaf, dumb, and blind dispensing blatantly untrue information about the state of our nation. Francis, who that is? My Tabata of the week, or maybe, is how little children are being accused consistently, even by their family members, pastors, and other lunatic, I will call them, for witchcrafting. And anytime I talk to someone in Liberia, they say, "Oh, there's a 7-year-old, 8-year-old, that's witchcraft. You don't believe," but I won't say it to you because I know you don't believe these things. So they are accusing these children of witchcrafting. you will see how terrified, sometimes in the video, where the pastor is saying, oh, you are doing this, you are doing, the child is terrified. But you have 2,000 people watching. What do you expect this little child to say? So in Liberia, the most vulnerable population is the one constantly being accused of witchcraft. And you see elderly people and children. And I believe this is my Tabata of the week. Now we'll go around the room. Okay, we ask people to discuss the one word to describe the state of the nation. Campbell Dennis say travesty. At this time, we're going to go around the room and get your closing comment. Let me start with our guest, Dr. Maurice Kofa.
Well, thank you very much. Again, it is a deep honor and a pleasure to share the platform with the honorable panelists. Thank you. I really learned a lot from you. But what I want to say to us is that we are all Liberians, no matter how long we live outside Liberia, but we are Liberian, and Liberia should be dear to us. There are too many things that are on my heart, but what bear on my heart mostly is the issue of the environment. I feel that without the environment, where your nurturing process begins and there it ends, you can't be productive. If you're sick, none of us here can be sick and be able to do anything fruitful. For me, if I get very sick, my head hurts and I can't produce anything. And what much more about the people in Liberia that don't have the facility and the opportunities? They get sick, and about 75% of the remittances we send to Liberia either go to send a family member to the hospital or to the clinic. If this is true, then why aren't all can put together and help? Even helping the government, there's nothing wrong with that, because solid waste management is very, very critical and important. To the diaspora, I ask you that all join together and help the best way we can to deal with solid waste crisis in Liberia. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cooney, before I get to you, there's one here. George Dumba said, my Tabata is Mr. Cooney and the balloon hanging in his living room. What Mr. Cooney balloon?
He got balloon in his living room. Oh.
Please tell Mr. Dumba, I was out of the country, my wife celebrated her birthday, I came and met all the balloon hanging out, so I had to put them down.
Go ahead, Mr. Cooney, with your closing comment.
Well, I want to believe that our country is on the right track in spite of very difficult challenges. The President's State of the Union revealed that much has been done, but still there's much more to be, there's still more that we need to do. And the progress we are making in the area of road connectivity, I want to encourage the government to continue on that path, because I think it will unlock some of the engines for economic growth. It will bring the people closer together more. It will facilitate the free flow of goods and services. So I think that you should focus on this road connectivity. There are other areas in Liberia that he has to focus on, but I think road connectivity is a signature promise to the Liberian people. And I'm encouraged by what I see. I'm encouraged by what I heard. I was on the ground in Liberia. I saw some of the developmental projects. So I want to encourage the government to continue in the area of road connectivity, while at the same time, paying attention to other issues that they need to pay attention to.
Thank you. Carl?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, we've already all pretty much agreed the solution to the mountainous problems in the country lie with the people of the country. That is the people that are home, the people that are in the diaspora. Do what you can, where you can, how you can, right? And it doesn't have to be a single solution. Everybody needs to do what they can. If your strength is in education, or you have a passion for history like I do, and you have access to primary source documents that you can scan, join me. Let's do our digital library. That's one of the things that I'm doing. Everyone has something in some small way. Is that digital library going to save lives? No, but it is storing information for future scholars. These things are important. If you are, an artist, if you are a scientist, if you are whatever it is that you can contribute in any way to Liberia, if you're, it doesn't have to be agriculture, you don't have to physically be there, although that is one of the areas that I also am focused on. Whatever your niche is, whatever it is you can do. If it means to just adopt one school, you and your friends say, we're going to adopt one school and we're going to sponsor a breakfast program at that school. So every child at this public school can get something to eat in the morning when they go to school, that would make a tremendous impact. That's a group of children that will have the nutrition necessary for them to learn. All those small things have meaningful, lasting impact. Nothing that you do is too small. My good friend used to always say when we were growing up and we had so much schoolwork and other things to worry about, she used to say, "Call, how you eat an elephant?" And I would say, one bite at a time. So take a bite and chew. And everybody just get to work, do what it is you can do, organize, connect with people that have similar interests, and work together towards the advancement of our country.
Thank you. Mr. Sharif.
Yeah, so the driver of the agenda of national development is the president of the Republic of Liberia. The driver should be the driver of the agenda. And in our case, the president is not doing that. He's absent. There's a lot of goodwill I see each and every day from Liberians at home and the diaspora. So the leadership needs to then step up and play its role. Right around this platform, you have a lot of potential. You have a lot of resources that this administration can tap. It doesn't have to be their supporters. The problem is they are picking these supporters who do not have the requisite intellectual curiosity to advance the nation. I listen to the city mayor and I turn off the presentation. When I listen to some of these guys, I turn it off because the presentation is that bad. And, it's just the way it is. And so, it doesn't have to be your supporter. They can pick opposition members right there. It doesn't have to be anybody in the diaspora, right? They can pick people in the opposition right there. But a lot of these people, as Paul mentioned, there's already a brain drain. So what do you do to reverse the brain drain? You create the enabling environment to be able now to tap into that vast resource. Liberia, trust me, in all of West Africa, Liberia has a vast array of resources out of the country.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about Europe. When you talk about Europe and America and all these other places, I mean, not to mention Asia and all these people over on the other side, and even on the African continent, some areas in Africa, there are Liberians, all over the place, who can contribute to the building of the Liberian nation state. And so I think the leadership needs to do a better job of, a good job of, to set the bar low, of making sure that everyone who contributes and who wants to contribute, the environment is set in place for them to contribute to the building of Liberia.
Thank you so much. Let me slip in a few comments here before I draw down the curtains. James Davis said, Mr. Cooney, what happened to present-day road from Vietown to St. Paul Bridge? And you're talking about president building roads. Very soon, cars will not be allowed to drive on these roads. Monday guy, a high-level government official cannot use his so-called private money to do public work. Why in office? Because it causes conflict of interest.
It's against it's true. It's against the
Conde say, is Mr. Cooney familiar with the word integrity? If you are, what happened to yours? Will Liberian remain sycophant till his kingdom come? Mr. Cooney has integrity, and you don't question that because he has a different opinion. He has an opinion different from yours. Augustus Lipo say, these guys sitting in America misleading President Weah. They have forgotten the past of our country. Let me slip in a few announcements here. Tomorrow we have the literary hour, and the topic is land, community, and belonging in selected African novels. That will be tomorrow at 6 p.m. You have the literary hour. Then Friday, Saturday at 3, we have the state of the economy on FOL Marketplace. Gabriel Carter, Depo Zuo, LA's Coffee, and they have their guest, Mr. Larry. Professor Larry will be here also to discuss the state of the economy. Don't forget, the president just delivered the State of the Union. This afternoon, we did, on the hour of politics was the state of agriculture. So keep it here at Focus on Liberia, where we educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. Well, I want to thank you so much, my panelists tonight, for the discussion. The state of our nation, has most of you described. Mr. Sharif said the governance is in crisis. Dr. Kofa said the environment is poor. Cole said the state of children despicable, dire, and desperate. Mr. Kuni said the state of road in the country is improving. Or Jackie described the state of education in our country as unstable and lack the foundation. We hope those in government and the Liberian people are listening. We also want to say thank you to our viewers and even those who will watch later. Support us and continue to watch us. It's because of you that we do what we do. Have a good night, and let's close with our song that says, we are all Liberians. No matter your take on the state of the nation, we are all Liberians, and it is our responsibility to make our country the glorious land of liberty. Good night, and God bless you.
We are Liberians. Liberia is our home. Liberian people. Liberia.